Revelation 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth, and them which dwell therein, to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Move your body like a snake, ma.
3, 2, 1.
Who has heard the poem called The Snake? So I have it. Does anybody want to hear it again? You sure? Are you sure? So here it is, The Snake. It's called The Snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you." The border. "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin.
You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
That's why you bullshit.
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. Everybody strap in.
the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty.
You've got mail. Today's daily mail call comes from the General Epistle of James, chapter 5, from verses 13 through 20, entitled, Prayer Avails Much. Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Elias was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain. And it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the errors of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins. Once again, this daily mail call comes from the General Epistle of James, chapter 5, from verses 13 through 20, entitled, Prayer Avails Much. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of my journey with Yah. Man, you guys cracking jokes there on the you guys cracking jokes on the chats, man. I needed some laughs. I really did need some laughs. Lately I've been feeling kind of I don't know, man. I think I've been feeling on edge for the past month, you know? But before I get into my rant, which is the entertainment part of this program, I guess, is what you guys like to hear, right? The rants. Let me just say hello to everybody out there first. Good evening, good afternoon to you, Marcy T, Rob Tick, Rebecca Lynn, Daryl and Joy, Tanette, Jane Agrone, Alan Williams. Who else is out there? XC. Yeah, man, I was cracking up, man. That Don Cheeto joke right there, man, I could have, you know, if my mic was off, I could have blasted your ears because I was laughing real hard at that one. That was funny. That was really funny. And then Tonette comes in with the with the what do you call those infomercials? The infomercial snake oil. That's hilarious too. Oh man, that's funny. I needed some laughs. Who else is up in here? I'm trying to see. Yeah, that's about it. Who I can see in the chats. But yeah, you know, I may have talked about this either on my last stream or on somebody else's chat. It could be Hulk's chat or something like that. But you know, I've been on edge for the past month, man. And not only that, but I've been irritable. Like I've been really getting irritated with things, and it's beginning to affect me and how I talk to my family, man. I don't know what it is, you know? And I'm, you know, I try to pray about it every day, and I just it's a hard thing to control. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. And I think part of it is the things that are going on in the world. And definitely, you know, this feeling I'm having about this upcoming selection, you know, with all these things that have been going on who knows what's next? You know, they're really pushing real fast for the changes to come, the changes that we don't want. They're pushing it for it real fast, and not to mention, you know, everyday life for me as well. You know, that uh, I just been very very on edge and irritated. I it seems to me that my patience that I've built up for so long, the little bit of patience that I've built up, has went back down. And this is one thing about the journey with Christ, man. It's always an up and down. There's always its peaks and valleys. Right now, man, I'm going through the difficult part of it, and you know, I'm just praying that I just don't want to lose my relationship with Christ, man, because I feel like I'm being tested at the same time too. You know, I ask myself, could this be a test of how much I've changed from day one of my walk to today? And I think I brought this up too last stream about sometimes I don't feel like Christ is with me. You know, I feel alone sometimes. But I'm definitely, man, it's definitely been hard for this month. It's been hard as far as trying to hold on to the peace that I do have, and other things, you know. It's just it's been very very hard. Am I the only one who's kind of feeling that way? I mean, let me ask you guys in the chats, are you guys kind of feeling like that too? Because I hope I'm not the only one. Because I definitely don't want to feel alone in this, you know? Let me just check the chats here. Let's see. Marcy T says it's because it's irritating now. Yeah. You know, I seem to get a lot more pissed off too when I start seeing them spraying the skies, man. I get more than before. You know what I mean? And then the news that I hear too. And you know, that's something that I can control as far as how much information I take in. I think I'm at that point where I have to step away from it. I have to step away from the information because, you know, I think I've mentioned this to somebody that sometimes inundating yourself with all this information could really get to you. And I think I need to take a break off of it as far as that type of information goes. But sometimes it's hard to avoid it because it's just out there, right? A good example of that is like today for my walk, today on my spiritual walk, man, there's so many banners on people's front yards for whoever they're voting for, man. Especially for the guy with orange hair and orange face. There's a lot of people with those banners up in there, including my neighbor. You know, I get along well with my neighbor, but I just don't partake in, you know, the whole process. At least now I don't. Well, from 2020 on, I stopped. But I think, you know, when I'm trying to have a peaceful walk and just have a conversation with Christ or just to clear my head, man, all of a sudden you see the banners up there, vote for this person, vote for that person, re-elect this person, re-elect. And it gets overwhelmingly annoying sometimes. Today, man, I just kind of had, and I kind of talked to myself and I said to myself, man, when are these people ever going to learn? When are they going to learn that all these people do is make promises that they never keep? You know, the only promises that they do keep, I mean, although they don't blurt it out loud, the only promises that they do keep is screwing the people over. You know? But other than that, when it comes to the promises that the people want to hear, they don't keep those promises. You know? Daryl says, "Don't lick your fingers after the Cheetos." Oh man, I definitely need the laughs, man. I do, I do. Um, Marcy T says it's the spirit of what we are in. And that's what I don't. I mean, yes, I understand we are, but what I don't get is that people they don't understand that this is a whole. This whole thing is spiritual. You know, because even on the surface level wickedness, you should. I mean, people should be able to think like, okay, this is not of a human being. The wickedness that these people are doing, it's not of a human. You know, because that's how I started my walk with Christ, was because I couldn't wrap around the wickedness of people through human intellect or through the human mind. I just couldn't wrap, it made no sense, especially being from a job that used to deal with a lot of bad people, right? It didn't make sense to me. Then it finally clicked. It's like, yeah, dude, everything is like, the world you're living in today is a lot more spiritual than it used to be. This is why all these things are revealing itself, because it's all spiritual. And the only way you're able to determine that is, you either got to understand that God exists and there is good in God and bad in the devil, and also having a relationship with Christ. But back then I didn't have a relationship with Christ. So, being my upbringing as a so-called, I don't know, quasi-Christian, Catholic, Roman Catholic, whatever you want to call it, I did believe that God exists. And so I had to revert to that, to what I was taught, to understand that, oh my goodness, the way the world is definitely not the way it used to be. It's very, very spiritual. It's very much spiritual. And it just, in 2020, everything just solidified with everything that went on. I was like, okay, this is definitely not what the world used to be. This is not what I remember the world as years ago. And I saw the rapid change when Barry Soetoro came in. I saw it was actually, with the whole Patriot Act thing, that's when I started noticing a little bit of things, but definitely sped up with Barry Soetoro, and everything was, it got more clear when Orange Man came in, and when JB came in, it was like the works were in play now. Now they're beginning to try. Now they're making the moves. So this is the reason why I'm trying to get people to stop with the nonsense of believing what the world is showing you, or even partaking in what the world is giving to you. And even in my walk today, man, I had to think about this too. And I was talking with Christ, and I said, Lord, I think I understand why I'm kind of feeling the way I am, is because, I'm trying to get as close as I can to Christ. I really am. And you definitely can't be close to the world and close to God at the same time. You're going to have to make a decision, right? You're going to have to choose. Either you're going to go with Christ, or you can go with the world. And I think, I was beginning to realize that because I want to draw closer to Christ, that the world is definitely spitting me out and treating me the way that it is, And I'm not trying to play victimhood here. I think it's just like this because this is the choice I've made between God and the world. And of course, if I'm going to go closer to Christ, the world is going to give me everything to make me feel how I'm feeling right now. And it's working. I gotta say, man, when it comes to my feelings, it's working. But when it comes to my spirit, I'm more on fire for Christ, because I know that I believe in the promises that he has promised us. when the time does come. You know what I mean? So, let me see what else is here. Rob Tick says it's that time of year as well. It's that season. Daryl says the Great Tribulation is a yeah, the Great Tribulation is a jerk, man, but something that we got to go through, right? You know, I know people want to believe that there's some kind of thing called a rapture that's going to take them away from the tribulation. Biblically speaking, man, that's not biblical. You know, I've said this so many times before, and I'm sorry for those people who do believe in that rapture doctrine, man. But throughout the whole history in the Bible of God's chosen people, they all went through it. And the Bible even says that, you know, God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Like, he's not going to change. I mean, I know he's able to change things up, but don't you think that God will give his people a heads up before he even makes changes like that? You know? So, to the people who believe this so-called rapture doctrine, man, you really need to get in the Word more. Like, you need to pay more attention to what Scripture says. Because when the time comes and you're not prepared for it, and I'm talking about being prepared in every way, spiritual, emotionally, mentally, physically, you got to be prepared all over. And I know it's impossible to be 100%, disaster proof, but you do the best you can. But definitely, I would put being spiritually ready as your number one. Because even if you're able to survive all these things, the things that you're going to have to go through to survive is going to be it's probably going to be the toughest. It's going to be a lot more tough going through the recovery phase of things as opposed to going through the actual thing. You know? You got to be spiritually sound. You got to have Christ you got to have Christ with you, man. You got to be spiritually strong, because you're going to be put into situations where you have to make these decisions of things that, you know, you may think about. Let's just say this. You're going to be put in situations where you're going to have to choose between doing something that's godly or ungodly. When you start going in that path of ungodliness, man, you've already lost. And all you're doing is just living for the world at that point. You know? I know it's going to be rough that, you know, we may have to make choices and eventually our bodies will succumb to that choice. But it's only one death we face, as opposed to having a second death, which will be the death of eternity. And I've learned so much about having eternal life with Christ and the promises of having eternal life that, you know, I only want to go through it once in this shell of a body. And I don't want to live my life separate from God Almighty ever again. I have for so many years. I would say about 95% of my life, I've been living my life separate from Christ by choice. You know? And it's only these few years from when I started my walk to today that I've decided that I really don't want to live my life separate from him again. You know? Let's see here. Going to the chats again. What's going on, Joy? See you in the chats. I know you weren't in the chats earlier, but I see you. I'm just reading the chats here. I'm just reading. I'm making sure to pre-read before I read out loud because I don't want people's businesses to be out there. Daryl says this is the practice time. You couldn't even say that more accurately, man. You couldn't say that more accurately. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm just like all you guys. I am worried about, when these times do finally arrive where we have to make these types of decisions, man, because it's easy to say one thing, but it'll be different when you're faced with that actual situation. And I want to be able to train myself to make the right decisions. I mean, this is one thing I've learned in my prior job, and I think I've shared this with you guys when I used to talk about being aware of your surroundings and self-defense of yourselves, man. You got to always run these scenarios in your head, okay? You run these scenarios, whatever scenario you think about, you run it in your head and you think about what decision you want to make. You always run that as many times as you can every day. And I think the guys can kind of relate to me on this, where they think about certain situations and what they would do. Because at that point, you're training yourself to react in such way that you want to react as far as how you want to react. I would advise people to do something like that, Give yourself the worst situation and what choices you would be given and what you would want to decide on doing, Because if you start telling yourself this stuff, it'll just come automatically. You got to constantly be in thought like that. I'm always in thought like that. Even when I go out, man, I make sure I sit in certain, I make sure that a wall is behind my back so then I can see everybody. When I watch, because I watch a lot of people, I watch their body language, I watch their hands, I watch where they're looking. I notice where's the escape routes, the exit signs. You notice all these things, where I would potentially hide if something was to happen, or where I can. You got to do this for yourself, man, because you don't know where you're going to be at in whatever time. And you want to be able to just have that. You want to be able to just react instead of think about it at the moment. Because when you waste some time just stopping to think about what you're going to do, that could be too much time, and that could be the only time you've got, and that's it. So I would always tell people, please think about certain situations, Program yourself is what you're doing. You're training yourself as to what you would do, what you would decide. You constantly do this, you will just react. And trust me, it's proven. I mean, that's kind of how military and police train, man. They go through these things all the time in training, and it's true. It actually works, because I've been in situations where I just reacted. I didn't think. I just reacted because of training. And it's the same thing. When you start putting your mind in that set where you're thinking about what you're gonna do, that's this particular situation that you want to decide to do, it'll just come automatically. I can't stress that enough. I just cannot stress that enough. Especially today. Especially in the days we're living, man. Who knows what's the next thing? Who knows? And not only that, you got a lot of these foreign gang members in here too. Like, you don't know. You know what I mean? I care about you guys so much that I'm sharing this kind of information with you guys, And I know it may sound like common sense stuff, but you'd be surprised how many people out there who are just so unaware. There are so many people that not that I was intentionally trying to creep up next to them just to get where I need to get, But you'd be surprised that people are so oblivious that, you know, you can obviously be there and they still wouldn't be aware. They still wouldn't notice that you're there. It's little things like that, man. You got to watch yourselves. You know, talk to if you go out with your family, with your kid, man, I tell you, you know, right now my daughter, she don't go to a regular school, right? She's in homeschool. And I'm about to do the unthinkable. And the only reason why I'm about to do the unthinkable as far as sending my daughter to public school is because I want her to learn how to interact with people. I want her to learn that you know, you're going to interact with a lot of different types of people, and you got to learn how to deal with them. This is the reason why I'm going to let her out, man, for high school. I'm thinking about it. But I told her, you know, these drills that they have in these schools about go find the hiding place when there's a man, how do I say it with the tubes, man? What's the word? I'm thinking of something I can, you know what I'm talking about when I talk about schools and drill. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about with schools and drills. Okay? There's only two things I could be, well, actually now there's three. There's only three situations that I'm talking about when it comes to drills in schools. You either got a fire, you either got an earthquake, and the other thing, right? So check this out. Even when my son was in high school, I told him, dude, if there's somebody active in your school, you don't follow where everybody's going. You find the nearest exit and you go as far away from the school as possible. And you call me on the phone and I'll get out of wherever I'm at. I'll go your way real quick. You know, it's a stupid thing to have all these, and this is my opinion. You know, I'm not a tactical dude by any means, but I think if the active person sees a room full of a bunch of targets, that's like a pot of gold to him, right? So you want to avoid that. The best thing is to spread out, have everybody spread. And I get it. You want to take head counts of everybody being present and safe, and I get that. But man, when you're in a situation like that, being crowded up together in one bunch, that's a death trap, dude. Yeah? So I'm talking to my daughter now. I'm saying, look, they're going to tell you to go to the safest. I'm like, no, you don't do that. What you do is you find the nearest exit and you book it. You book it home as far as you can. You go to the furthest place and you get to go to a house that's nearby. Ask if you can use their phone and call me up or something. But do not go with the rest of the flock. Do not. I'm a different cat, man. You know, I think outside the box when it comes to stuff like that. I'm definitely going against the grain. And, you know, a lot of these things about having to take roll call and making sure that everybody's present and accounted for, that's all liability stuff for the schools. That's the reason why they want to, because they don't want to be liable for a missing child. That's, you know what I'm saying? Man, I don't even know how I got here, man, discussing something like this, but that's just my opinion. Okay. I'm not some kind of tactics instructor or anything like that. Nothing. I'm not a SWAT dude or some kind of tactical dude. I'm just I know the basic tactic stuff, but that's about it, you know? And I use common sense too. Like, I'm not going to be in a crowd of people. I'm not going to go towards a crowd of people. I'm going to go out and be separate from everybody, you know? Because once you're in a place with a crowd, a room full of a crowd, you can't move. You know what I'm saying? In a situation like that, you want to be able to move. You don't want to be stuck somewhere. That's crazy to me. It's crazy. See what's going on here in the chats, man. I know I'm ranting here. What's going on, Victoria? Del Griffith? Good to see you guys, man. Um, Victoria says, if she feels safe to come to you and you have equipped her, she should be. Um, I don't know if that's an incomplete sentence. Um, Jay says, keep her close to you so much. Yeah. Yeah, I try. I try to talk to my daughter a lot, and I try, but she's at that age, man. She's at that age that she's pushing me away, even to give her even just to give her a hug or tell her I love you, man. It's like she don't want me around her, man. And I always like, why you treat me like that? I'm your dad. I'm not a stranger. Um Joy says no for the public fool system. I agree with you. Okay? I agree with you. But here's where this decision for me, I have to make this decision. I can't I know it's my duty to protect my girl, but it's also my duty for my girl to learn how to grow up too. It's not going to do her any justice if I'm always covering her up, because when she becomes an adult, she'll be too dependent on me. And she needs to have the skills of having to deal with different types of people, you know? Look, I'm doing as much as I can right now so she don't get brainwashed. And of course, I've talked to her. I tell her this all the time with the public schools. Like, they're going to teach you stuff that's not true. It's not real. They're just brainwashing you. I tell her that stuff all the time. The school that she's in right now is good. But there comes a point where she has to learn how to grow up. And I know as her father, part of me guiding her is part of that, but I don't want to cover, like, I don't want to suffocate her. And she has to find her own way. She has to find her own way to do things. I'm really trying to balance out on how to become a really good parent, because I didn't have guidance at all. I didn't have guidance at all. And now I'm trying to be a better parent than than the single parent that I had. Don't get me wrong, man. My mom she did a lot. And my mom is a superhero, but the thing is, because she got sick and she was supposed to die, she couldn't be there like for a certain period of my time, because she couldn't take care of me. And I think having to go through these challenges in life, let's face it, man. And I think we can all agree that we need to be pressed in life in order for us to become better people. And if my daughter's not pressed, she's never gonna figure it out, and she's gonna be exactly like these Gen Zers. I think my girl is a Gen Alpha, but she's gonna be one of these Gen Z, the lost cause generation. She can be one of those people, and I don't want her to. So I got to put some challenges in her life, man, or she's never gonna be able to learn. I really don't want to. I don't. But it wouldn't be right for me not to. Not to let her grow on her own a little bit. Especially in the teenage years, man. I know how important that is for a father to be there, but with a girl especially, you can't be smothering, man, because the more you smother the girl, right, the more you're overprotective of the girl, what are they going to do? They're going to go out and rebel. They're going to do exactly opposite of what you want them to do. Man, I used to mess with girls whose fathers were strict, man. So I know. And it's not something I'm bragging about. It's just something that I've experienced. The more strict you are, especially with a girl, the more rebellious they become. Yeah, that's right, Victoria. Mini prisons as well. Yep. The school food kind of puts that in perspective too, doesn't it? see. Marcy T says all public pool systems teaches communism. Yeah, they sure do. They do. But I'm trying to get my girl to learn, you know? You gotta learn. She's gotta learn. But I'll be there. I'll be there every step of the way. You know, I'm gonna make sure that I'll be there, not smothering her, but just making sure that everything's good. Jane Negron goes, when I didn't know any better, I would stress out so much with my student. Oh, you were a teacher. Were you a teacher? When we had drills and had to stand outside thinking, wow, what easy. Yes. Yes. If you're all bunched up, man, you don't even have to aim. That's what I'm saying. At some point there should be some kind of common sense, right? Because moving targets are way harder to get. And if everybody's spread out, it's a little bit unless you have like double buck or something, but I don't know. I don't know, man. There's some common sense there that if you're all spread out, I mean, if people were smart, right? People would plan escape and meeting points outside of the school. That's what they would do. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, once you get out, meet me by this tree or something to that effect, Not anywhere like really close to the school, but meet me somewhere at a point and have your group spread out. That's just me. But what do I know, man? I don't know anything. But that's all liability stuff. That's what I think. They want everybody in a certain place, a certain point, so that everybody is accounted for. But there's a problem. Most of these points, the meeting points, is like right next to the school. Yeah. XC says, "Got to be tactical speak. I know I am." Yeah. The days that we're living in, you sure have to be very aware of what's going on, man, because you never know. You hear these places like, I remember what happened here in was that El Paso like a couple years ago? It was in a Walmart, right? It can be anywhere, or even if you like a concert or something like that, it can be anywhere. So you always got to be aware. Me, I try to I don't like going to crowded places. I really don't. I don't like crowds. I don't like crowds. But that's just me. But if I have to go to a place like that, I start thinking. Like even when I used to go to concerts too, I used to pick where I'm going to sit tactically. Like I'm always at the aisle seats, because if we got a book and we're close to the exit, we're out of the exit real quick. That's just me. I never chose seats because, we get to see the performer really good from this angle. I'm like, no, we can see the performer fine from here, but I want to make sure that if anything happens, that I'm able to get out with me and my wife. Isn't that weird? Oh, man. Joy, tattoo your phone contacts on your arms. Oh, that's hilarious, man. I don't think I'd approve of any tattoos on my girl in any part of her body. What's going on? Bari Hadari. Nice to see you. Let me just do this real quick. Let me throw one of those blue wrenches at you. She should be fine, says Victoria. I hope so. I would hope so. Victoria says I was homeschooled all the way up, and it probably wasn't the best. Okay, Joy, I got you. You needed to gauge what was normal. Yeah, and believe me, I have these conversations all the time with my girl, man. And sometimes when we do gigs together, man, I can tell. I can tell she can tell. She can tell. Let's put it that way. Like, for example, when we go do teenager parties and the way some girls are dressed up and the way they dance, I start looking at my daughter. And you know what's cool about my daughter, man? My daughter, she covers up when she dresses up, man. She's very conservative in how she dresses, which is cool. I can really appreciate that. She likes wearing, she's tomboyish, you know? And I'm glad she kind of tomboyish. I'm glad she's not a girly girl and you know what I mean. But sometimes my daughter would tell me like, "Oh, look at what she's wearing," or "Why is she dancing like that?" She's not so, she'll talk to me and tell me these things too. So I'm like, "Okay, cool." Her mind is in the right direction. That's good. But what I love the most is that when we start talking about Jesus and it's only her and I, those moments, man, when I ask her questions and she gives me the good answers. She gives me good answers, and you could tell that she's not trying to say to appease me. I'm trying to dig into her brain to see if that's something she's just saying for me to, for me, that it's something I want to hear. But no, I push her a little bit and I make sure that she understands that, and she does. So praise God for that. Praise God for that there is somebody in this household with me that is kind of in the same boat with me. I wish my wife and my son can get on board, and I'm pretty sure that there will be a day, there will be a time when we will all be able to walk in one accord in the same direction. But I'm just glad that at least with my daughter, she knows what's up. She knows what's up. Victoria says, I needed to gauge what was normal, but that was then and this is now, so I would understand people pulling kids out of public school systems. Yeah. My biggest thing is I want her, because the generation that she's going to be growing up in, man, it's going to be it's going to be a difficult generation to be an adult when she does become an adult. So I want to be able to prepare her to have to deal with all the different stuff that she has to, especially being in a different generation, in a different world from the world that I grew up in. Man, I was born in the mid-70s, dude. I barely graduated high school. I wouldn't say I graduated. Well, I guess you could say I graduated. I mean, I didn't graduate honestly, but I graduated, right? I graduated in the 90s, Didn't go to college. The world was so different in the 90s, man. The world was so different in the 90s. It was fun. That's my experience. It was fun. The 80s was cool too. I was a little kid in the 80s, man. And in the 80s, dude, you can be out all day, ride your bike as far as you can. I was one of those kids that was able to ride a bike for hours on end without my mom having to worry about where I was, And then I'd come home and I remember where I lived at, because it wasn't in the U.S. I grew up in an island. So, man, I rode my bike for a few hours, man, just to go to a comic store. I remember this. Because because I was, I used to like collecting Garbage Pail Kid cards. For those who know, right? There's this one big comic store that we had in the island that we grew up, and it was a distance away from us, from where I lived. So I would ride my bike for hours on end just to go there to buy some comics or to buy some Garbage Pail Kid cards, and then be gone for hours. Come back home when the sun's about to almost go down, and my mom would say, "Oh, where you been?" I said, "Oh, I went to the comic store to go get to buy these," and she just kind of freak out and be like, "Okay," But that was a different world back then. You get people abducting children with their parents present these days. This is the insanity of the world that we live in today. You know what I mean? That's why when my girl plays outside with her friends, it's either me or my wife or my son that has to go out there and watch her. It's crazy, dude. It wasn't like this before. Joy says, Orange Man Rally is live in Times Square, New York City. That's not a wise place to be. Well, hey, man. I think you know that. I think I know that. I think this whole community knows that. But to the supporters of Orange Man know that. Their pride is filled that they have to be there with him. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. We're just living in such a very different world now, man, that honestly, I really don't know how to gauge I know what to tell my daughter. I know how to kind of guide my daughter, but as far as gauging how her generation is going to be like, because a lot of them have been spending so much time in front of a screen, I really don't know how to gauge. Like, I don't know how to teach her that stuff. Like, I don't know. So she have to kind of learn how to deal with that when she goes to a regular school, being around people who's always in front of screens. And she herself too. Being homeschooled, she's in front of a screen for hours. I wouldn't say too long, maybe like 4 hours for school. So I don't know, man. It's just a very different time to be raising a child, man, especially for somebody like me who wish that it was the same that it was from back then, I'm a very nostalgic person, as you can tell. I always refer back to the 90s as being my favorite decade. But this is not the world that we live in these days, man. It's a very different world. And I enjoy having to share some of the movies or the even the music of the 90s with my daughter. But now she's going her own direction, She's becoming her own person. And for me, I'm like, oh, please, no, not yet. Not yet. But I can't smother her. I can't. Because the moment I start to do that, it's going to be bad for me. At the end, she's going to do a lot of things that I disapprove of in order to get a reaction out of me. So I got to make sure that she makes all her mistakes now. And of course, as she grows up, she'll learn that mistakes are necessary for her to grow. But honestly, man, I have to let loose a little bit, And I get it. I get us parents. We want to make our children better than us. We don't want them to go through the hardships that we went through, but it's not fair to them if they don't. And I've learned that through my first child. I've learned that I have to let go a little bit. I have to, because without those struggles, you're going to become a wimp. You're going to be so soft. You won't be, and I'm not saying be hard all the time, but you got to be able to bounce back up from when you're down, because life is not always going to be fun. And a good example of this is look at the work ethic of a lot of these young people. The work ethic sucks. They call out, they quit right away. They don't want to work. You know what I mean? I was just talking to my wife and I and my daughter, because, you know, we did an event yesterday, and as we're driving to the event, you know, my wife, she works part-time, and she starts to tell my daughter about the younger generation of people who are so lazy, or they call out sick a lot, or they come in late without even letting the supervisors know, or, you know, they don't even tell their coworkers that they're sorry for coming in like late. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. I don't want my daughter like that. I don't. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just reading the chats. What's going on, Shawana? Good to see you out there. What's going on, Cheryl? Marcy T says, I used to ride my bike all over too in the 70s. It was a different time, man. It was such a different time. You know, man. And that's why I get so nostalgic, man, because back then it was just, life was a lot more simpler, man. Then came the internet. The internet, dude, to be honest, the internet is what complicated so many things. It made things convenient. It made things cool, because now you get to learn about all these other things that you never knew about. Or in my case, when I first got into the internet, I was hyped up because there was a thing called Napster where you could just pull music from without paying for. Man, I used to be one of those dudes, man. And music was huge back then, because I have this, even to today, this whole zip up case, like a book. It's like a book, man, where you have sleeves in them for CDs. And I still got that thing, and it's from the 90s. I got a whole thing full of CDs. You know? And I hated lugging that thing around and having to flip the pages of the sleeves just to choose the CD that I want to play. I hated that, man. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get all the songs that I liked and then burn them into one CD and just play it without having to flip through the books and all this stuff, man. And some of you guys can relate to the whole Napster era, right? And what was after Napster? Like LimeWire, Kazaa, remember that? Crazy, man. Rebecca says, Elon, you know what I call him? I call him Leon Mux. Leon Mux is there. He is. Mr. Dark MAGA, huh? Let's see here. I'm just reading the chats, man. What's going on, Luke Donelli? Good to see you out there. Tanette says, my grandson has been doing online school for most of the past 4 years. He's doing a hybrid school now to reintroduce him to social settings. Yeah, and I think that's needed too, man, because a lot of these younger kids who have their faces planted in front of a screen, it's hard for them to socialize. And I notice that with my daughter sometimes, man. And I'm the type of dude that's I've always taught my children from young to always look people in the eye when you talk to them, because it's a sign. It shows a few things. It shows that you're confident. It shows that you have respect for the person, and it shows that you're paying attention to the person, right? But my daughter has problems with like having to keep that eye contact, man. I noticed that with her. Marcy T I was never scared. Yeah, when you're talking about riding your bike, yeah, same here, man. Same here. It was such a different time. Shawana says, my little ones have been so engaged and interested in the life of Christ. Man, that's amazing. That's cool, man. That's good. That's good. Keep that curiosity up with them, you know, because the more they have that curiosity, guess what? The more they want to seek him out. So that's good. That's really good. Man, I remember roller skates. Marcy T saying I had skates with key. I remember roller skates. Then they came out with rollerblades in the 90s. But I used to skate too. Skateboard and roller skate. And scooters. They used to have scooters too back then. It was different from this. I wouldn't say it was so much different, but it was kind of different. Little bit. I'm so behind the chats, huh? At least I'm interacting with you guys more. I'm checking the chats more often. Luke says, do kids even write anymore in school, or is it all screens? Well, I can answer for my daughter. She still writes. She does do cursive. And also for math problems, she does, because sometimes the teacher wants to, the teacher says, I want you to show how you got your answer. So yeah, she still writes. Her penmanship's kind of weak, but which is weird, because my daughter has a good hand for art, but when it comes to her penmanship, it's like, come on, dude. Like, you're almost a teenager. You're writing like you're 8 years old or something. So yeah, as far as my daughter goes and her schooling, she does write. Yeah, she does. What's going on, Hoku? Daryl says, Barry smells like when they stop picking up trash and buying unalived peeps. Oh, man. Tonette says, video really did kill the radio star. Well, not video, but the internet. Yeah. Videos were always there, right? VHS, Betamax. It's funny you say that, because I got a VCR right here, right beside me, man. I still got a VCR. Victoria says, I miss LimeWire. I don't. I don't, because I guess LimeWire is cool, but the thing is, man, sometimes the downloading of the songs, a few things about this. The quality sucked, and then it took long sometimes. Sometimes it could take more than half an hour sometimes. I don't know. But back then it was dial-up or something like that too. But still, man, I don't miss those days. And believe me, because I still download music to this day, because that's my business, right? But of course, I get my music out of a DJ record pool, and it's just a few seconds for me to download my music. So when it comes to like LimeWire, nah, I don't really miss it. It was cool for its time, but today, way better. And the quality's better too. No, hey, what's going on, Anna P? Please try 8-track tapes or cassette. Man. Cassettes. I don't even know if I have any cassettes left. I don't think I do. I have CDs. I have tons of CDs. Cassettes? Can't find any cassettes. I have videotapes. But I sure do remember the cassettes. I don't miss those things, man. And the reason why I don't miss them is because when the tape gets eaten up and after you fix it, the quality of the sound don't sound the same. You know what I mean? Because the tape is all ruined at that point. I used to be pretty good at this too. It's like sometimes the tape would cut, man, I used to splice that thing up with Scotch tape, and it'll work, and it'll play all the way. It'll still play good when I spliced it to fix it, and it still played okay without getting eaten up by the tape deck. Man, I used to have a double decker, a red one, by was it Sanyo? Yeah, it was by Sanyo. It was a double deck. It was a red double deck boombox. I remember that. That wasn't well, actually, you know what? That may have been the first time I kind of experimented in so-called, quote, DJing with 2 tape decks. I kind of remember that. And I used to record DJ sets out of the radio stations too, when they used to have live DJ play on the radio stations. I don't know if they still do that stuff. I think they do, but yeah, I remember when I would go on a trip to California every summer. I remember when I was like 7th, 8th grade, and the radio station that I used to listen to was, I think it was like The Beat, 94.7 The Beat, in LA. And they play these live DJ sets, and I'd always record those things, man. And then I'd come back from my trip from California to go back where I grew up. And I'd say to my friends, yeah, that's me mixing right there, man. I was trying, I'd always BS my friends. Say, yeah, that's me mixing, man. Oh, man. Those days, man. Cheryl said, Napster. Luke said, LimeWire, what a classic. Man, I'm way behind, huh? Shawana says CDs and VHSs, LOL, was talking about this on Days last night. Oh, I was trying to watch his replay last night, man, but I fell asleep because he went more than 5 hours? But I was listening to a lot of the things that he was talking about, but I fell asleep because we had an event yesterday. Man, we had a great event yesterday. Dude, check this out, man. We did this event yesterday, a grand opening for a restaurant here in Texas. I want to say it's a good chained restaurant that I used to frequently go to back in California when I used to live out there. It's Korean barbecue. If you know anything about Korean barbecue, what they do is they you get to order the meat that you want, you get to cook it in front of you and all that stuff. Dude, part of me getting paid was having to eat there for free with my wife and my daughter. And we have not been out to eat in years, like for reals, in years. And it was nice to be out there after we did our thing and have a nice dinner together out. Like I said to my wife after, I was like, remember, I told her, remember when we used to go out to eat all the time? And she's like, yep. I was like, well, it felt nice to be with you guys out to eat. It was such a nice time. It was such a nice time, man. If I was to pay for that meal that we had last night, dude, the check came out to about almost $200. Almost $200, man. And we got to eat for free after we played for their grand opening, man. So it's a win situation, and I think they're going to open another chain in another city. Over here in Austin, they're going to open another one, and hopefully I can DJ there again, and we can eat there again for free. But it was cool, man. It was cool to be with the family out to eat after a good days of work. But yeah, I said, this is cool. This is nice. But of course we didn't it used to be a norm for us to do that all the time. We used to go out to eat all the time, for reals, all the time. And I'm not talking about fast food restaurants, man. I'm talking about restaurants where, it ain't cheap because I was able to afford it. It ain't like that these days. And it's not that I want to get back into that again, but it was nice just to be out with the family, man. It was really nice just to have a nice dinner outside of home. But it's not something that I would want to do normally like I used to. But it was a nice time. It really was a nice time, man. And man, the bill came up to almost 200. The manager was showing me when he's calculating it. I was like, "Dang, dude, there's no way I can pay for that right now." And then he clicks the thing and says, "Comped it." I'm like, "Woo, we got comped because we worked for it." Yeah. Am I behind the chats? I probably am. Let's see. I know we're just chopping it up today, man. I know. But it's kind of a break. Not a break from Christ, of course. But it's kind of a break, man, because I don't even get to chop it up like this with anybody, man. Honestly, I ain't got no friends around here that I can just talk everyday things about. And, it's a privilege for me to just chop it up as a regular person with the fellow brethren in Christ, because I don't get to socialize like this, man. I'm very reserved with a lot of people because I need to know where they're at as far as like where their mind is at. I'm very cautious about opening up, out, with people that here I'm already, I think I've built relationships with a lot of you guys throughout the months, and we see each other on different chats, and we seem to have the same mind. And so when I see you guys, I feel comfortable. Like I can just have a normal conversation, man. But even the people out, sometimes, man, it's like I gotta be careful what I say, or if I throw something out there just to test the waters, I still gotta be careful. But I'm glad that I'm just able to just chop it up as a just regular talking sometimes, man, because I don't get to do this, I mean, I get to talk to some of my friends on the phone, but sometimes I feel like they don't even want to hear me, man. Daryl says, my first cassette were U2, Led Zeppelin, and Peter Gabriel. Quite the quite the artists, I would say. Not talented artists, but because we know what we know now, right? Quite the artists, especially U2. Man. Hoku says, I love ice skating. Avon Lake in Vale was out of... Oh, wow. I've only been ice skating once, and that was in the winter of... I believe it was 2005, maybe? I think it was the winter of 2005. And this was up in San Francisco. And this was, I think... It was an outdoor ice skating rink. For those people who live out there in the Bay Area, you probably know where this place is because I've only been there. I've only been to that particular place once. But that was the very first time that I've ice skated. It was probably the first and last time I've ice skated. And because I knew how to rollerblade, ice skating came easy to me. And I also used to roller skate too when I was a boy, young boy. So ice skating kind of came easy a little bit. I remember, I think it was my son, he tried to do it and fell a few times. Ice skating's cool. Skiing, huh? Daryl says, I started with records of vinyls, man. You want to get to vinyls, bro? My dad used to get so... Man, when I started getting to DJ, like when I started seeing DJs on the TV scratching with their turntables, I used to do that with my dad's turntables, and he used to be pissed, man. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, I'm just trying to be a DJ. But he'd be pissed because I'm messing with his vinyl collection, man. He used to have all sorts of music. He used to have like Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire. Man, his musical tastes were like, looking back then for me, they weren't cool at all. Okay, I was all into either the 80s hair band stuff or rap. That's the only two things I was into. I didn't start getting into the R&B thing until like 8th grade when I had my first, I guess you could say my first girlfriend in 8th grade is when I started getting to R&B. And Bobby Brown was pretty big at the time too. This was back in 88, 89 or something like that. But yeah, looking back now, the musical taste that he had was cool. I mean, I still enjoy listening. I like to listen to the stuff that he used to listen to today. I enjoy it. But back then, I'm like, every time my dad would drop me and my brother off to school, as soon as we got close to school, man, I would lower down his music on purpose. because he used to blast that music, and I would lower it down because I was ashamed. But now looking back, I'm like, dude, the stuff that he was listening to is pretty good stuff, man. They were playing actual instruments. The vocals were good, So, yeah, vinyls, man. I remember my dad had a bunch of records from Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire. I think also what's the other funk band? Oh man, I'm losing my head right here. I hate when I forget these things. I give up. But he had quite a collection of vinyls, man, and that was cool. That was cool. He also had vinyls of a Hawaiian group, and this was a really popular group back in the 70s called Kalapana. Man, if you get a chance to hear their stuff, and this is music from the 70s, good stuff, man, good stuff. Let's see what else here. ELO, yeah, my dad used to listen to ELO too. I remember. Xanadu. Isn't Xanadu like what's her name? Olivia Newton-John, right? That's her song, isn't it? Pink Floyd, yeah, dude. Oh man, this is nuts, dude. So check this out, man. Remember that movie The Wall? That movie The Wall? My parents took me to go see that movie. Well, they didn't take me to see it. They wanted to see it. They just took me because they didn't have a babysitter. But I remember that, going to the movie theater watching The Wall, and the part that I remember is when they're singing that we don't need no education, and they're all lined up, right? The kids are all lined up. I remember that like it was yesterday. So yeah, I remember going to the movie theaters watching that with my mom and my dad. This is like way before I was young. I was very young when that came out. Marcy T says Motown. Yeah, Motown's good. Motown stuff is good. If I didn't know the things that I do today about the music industry and all this stuff, man, I'd probably still enjoy listening to that kind of stuff for a long time. But being the things that I know today, that I know about the music industry now, it's hard for me to enjoy music like I used to. But if I have to, resort back, I have my mood. It depends on what I feel. lately I've been feeling a lot of like kind of, if you guys are familiar with like 80, I like 80s new wave. Lately I've been listening to a lot of new wave stuff. I'm talking about like Depeche Mode, New Order, um who else? OMD, uh who else? I'm trying to think here. Eurasia, Anything Box, Book of Love. Yeah. I would even put The Cure in there and Morrissey and the Smiths. I've been listening to that kind of stuff lately. But I only listen to that. I'm only actively listening to that stuff outside of DJing is when I work out. So I've been putting a lot of that kind of stuff on my on play when I'm working out. Not when I'm just sitting down doing some work on the computer. I don't do that. The only time I get to listen to that type of music is when I'm driving in the car, because my daughter, she wants to put on what she wants to listen to, so I'm like, go ahead. But when I'm listening to music outside of DJing, I'm listening to it either when I'm working out or if I'm running. So yeah, as of lately, I've been listening to a lot of new wave, old new wave 80s stuff. The Cure, yeah, The Cure, man. The Cure. I used to love The Cure, man. Edward Scissorhands. What's going on, brother Hulk? Good to see you, brother. We're just chopping it up today, man. We're just chopping it up. Of course, I'll get into some scriptures, especially about prayer, man, because I was mentioning earlier too that this whole month has been, I don't know what it is, man, but I've been getting really irritable lately and kind of on edge. So we'll get into some scriptures here in a bit. Let's see. Luke says Hall & Oates. Yeah, man, Hall & Oates is good. My favorite song from Hall & Oates is Possession Obsession. And that was with John Oates singing lead in that song. It's a hidden gem in their collection of music. That song, Possession Obsession. I like that. That's my favorite Hall & Oates song. Some people would be like, what song is that? Because everybody knows the popular ones, right? They know Method of Modern Love. They know what's another one? Rich Girl. They know Out of Touch, right? Everybody knows the popular ones, but my favorite track from Hall & Oates is Possession Obsession. It's a cool track, man. John Oates doesn't get the kudos for his vocals like he should. Oh man, The Art of Noise. Yeah, remember that one. Luke, Creed, Nickelback, the alternative rock. Yeah, I just recently had a gig for alternative rock, like nothing but alternative rock, which was cool because it was something different from my norm. And I used to enjoy I still do, depending on my mood. Alternative rock to me is cool, But like I said, when it comes to overall music, I can't enjoy it the same way I used to, only because of the things that we know, right? Andy Gibb says Tanette from the Bee Gees. Huh? You like the Bee Gees? You know what, man? Creed almost sounded like Pearl Jam. The vocals almost sound the same, man. I don't know the lead singer for Creed, but he sounds a lot like Eddie Vedder. Yeah? Marcy T says, is that Barry, like Barry White? With the deep voice? Classical rock is cool too. Classical rock is cool. I would consider those 80s hair band classic rock now. So, yeah, I guess you could say classic rock is cool too. Man Eater. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are mentioning a lot of really good good artists out there, man. And I appreciate you. I'm losing viewers because we're talking about we're just chopping it up. I don't care. Nine Inch Nails, man. Especially now, I can't listen to them like I used to, man. But there were a few tracks from them that I liked. Of course, their most popular one, right? What was the name of it? I forgot the name of that one track they had that was their most popular one. But there's another one called. There was another one that was in the Crow soundtrack. It was called Dead Souls. I like that song too. But that was originally done by Joy Division. If you know anything about New Wave, Joy Division, which when Ian committed suicide, they became New Order. If you know any history about like New Order and Joy Division and stuff like that. Marcy Tisa had a crush on the lead singer Def Leppard, Joe Elliott. Yeah, Def Leppard. That Def Leppard is the band with the one-handed drummer, right? If I can remember. Man, this is cool. We just chopping it up today. Yeah. Christian music. You know, not lately, but I think like about a month and a half ago, I had this gig where their playlist included some like hill country type of Christian music. And I've heard a lot of things about those so-called quote Christians. They're like the churches that are more like they run church like a concert as opposed to actually teaching the gospel from what I've seen in videos. So these so-called modern day Christian rock or these I'm kind of iffy about them, man. You know, at least with secular music, they're straight up like they're not touching anything. They're not tricking people about God, right? Well, some songs will do, but for most part, they're not like these so-called, I don't know, Christian bands. And we know, man, we know that they're just worldly people and they just want to be famous and they want look at the gospel music too, man. Kirk Franklin. It's disappointing, man, that they're using God's name for their financial benefit and for their popularity, man. You know? Oh, man, you guys are going way back there. Fleetwood Mac, Carly Simmons. Come on, man. It's cool. Stone Temple Pilots used to be one of my favorite bands back in the 90s, man. My senior year, I used to listen to a lot of Stone Temple Pilots and Smashing Pumpkins. Man, I remember them. I sure remember them. Collective Soul, yeah, I remember. Remember that band too. Yeah, Hoku, she knows. No Bethel, bad stuff. Yup. Yeah, man. Yup. Yeah, I think we all know about those people. Oh, here comes Tonette throwing some facts here. The backup band for Steve Martin doing King Tut on SNL when it was still funny was the Nit Gritty Dirty Band. Steve Martin is are you talking about Steve Martin the comedian? Steve Martin, the guy. If that's the Steve Martin that I'm thinking of, was that the Steve Martin in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels movie? Cuz did you know? Here's another, I don't know if you guys know this. You guys probably do. But he's a really good banjo player too. Did you know that? Steve Martin, the comedian, the guy with the white hair, right? Uh he was in that movie Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Roxanne, right? He he's actually a really really good professional banjo player. And I know when we say banjo you start thinking what's that movie? The Dueling Banjo. What's that movie again? Oh man. Oh man, I'm blanking out here, man. Same guy. Same guy. Okay. Yeah. Man, what's the name of that movie though? Burt Reynolds was in it. It's an old movie. You know what I'm talking about. Deliverance. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Deliverance. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you guys knew what I was talking about. I'm just reading the chats here, man. You guys are cool, man. I'm glad we're just talking today, man. We're definitely just chopping it up today, you know. But here I want to share this. Okay, I want to share. Man, I gotta turn this light on. Okay, I definitely want to share a few scriptures here because hold on, let me just set this up on my computer first. Okay. So honestly, this actually, you know, it's cool that we're just chopping it up today, man. Because sometimes, you know, sometimes just having to communicate to somebody can do so much relief. Because right now, because of your presence and because we're just talking, it's made me feel a lot better. It's given me some comfort that I have actual family in Christ with me, just talking, man. And I don't get to do this a lot at all. Believe me. You know, I try to occupy my time with doing things or having to listen to things about Christ, or even having to listen about the bad news that we hear every day. And having this back and forth, right? Just a normal conversation, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be anything. Of course, we always want to come back to scriptures, right? Because this is what connects each and every one of us. The biggest connection here with all of us in this chat and in other people's channels is Christ. That's the common denominator. The common denominator is Christ, which is why I want to bring it back to here with this actual passage in scriptures. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, and this is gonna come off of Proverbs. Oh man, hold on for a moment. I gotta turn it into my. This is gonna come from Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 22. Okay, I'm gonna read this because just having to have this conversation with you guys, just about normal stuff, it's given me some comfort. You guys just don't know, you know. And I'm pretty sure you feel the same way too, just having a normal conversation. But I really want to share this. Okay? This is Proverbs chapter 17 verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. And the reason why I want to share that is because, like I said, the common denominator between all of us here in the chats and in, you know, the community in itself is that we're all followers of Christ, and we recognize the biblical Christ for who he is and what he's done for us. And honestly, man, just having a normal conversation with you just to chop it up today has lifted me up from where I was. Because I could tell you right now that I've been trying to get out of this I wouldn't say a hole, because it's not anywhere where it's depressing or anything like that, but it's frustrating, you know? And I think part of it is just me just wanting to have a normal conversation with people that I trust. And I feel that I can trust you guys because, you know, we've all established some sort of relationship here. And we all understand who God is to us, who Jesus is to us. It's not the Jesus that the world preaches. It's the biblical Christ that we all come to, right? This is the thing that we share with each other. You know, we have our hardships and we feel separated. We don't have a lot of people to talk to, but the power of people who have the same minds that are very few, when you come together, even just for a normal conversation, can do so much uplifting. And honestly, you guys have uplifted me today more than anything. You know? And I know getting into a season of prayer and reading your scriptures is supposed to help out with that, but sometimes too, you know, and I think this was important for the 12 apostles as well, is that they all had a relationship with each other, and they all were able to uplift each other as well. I mean, they may have their quarrels or their disagreements, but I think the overall at the overall picture of it, they were there for each other. And this is one of the things that I love about this community, man, is that we can tell each other about our struggles, our pains, and, you know, just having an ear and just having to interact with the conversation, with the chats or whatever, man, it makes a huge difference, man. Because I'm pretty sure that you guys I think you guys can understand the feeling of just not having anybody to speak certain things about. But, you know, when it comes down to it, sometimes just having conversations, just chopping it up like normal people do, right? It does a lot. And I'm so glad that the common denominator here is Christ. We're all one body. And you know, when I hear about somebody's struggles, I feel bad, and I do all I can in prayer, and if I'm able to help, even for the very little that I have, I will try to do something that I can do. You know? So I'm just really happy to be a part of this whole community. You guys are awesome, dude. And I'm glad that you come over to you know, whatever it is that you get from here. And I know it's not from me. I would think that I would like to bring unity here, but I think it is Christ Almighty who's, he's allowed me to bring people here so we all can connect with each other. I can't take any credit for holding a place just to speak with people, just to share my experience, just to share scriptures, just to share some advice or listen to advice. I can't take credit for that, man. And I'm honored. I'm very honored that Lord Jesus Christ has allowed me to do this. Because I tell you, man, this month has been, it's been sucking, man. The month has been sucking. And it seems to be sucking even more with everything that we hear about every day, about people's pains and sufferings and how much the system has destroyed people and are continuing to destroy people. And unfairly treating people. Well, I wouldn't say unfairly, but just mistreating people. At the same time, too, the normie of this world, they can't see the things that we do. And I gotta say, the things that we're able to see and hear can become a burden to us too. Because it affects us. If you're able to know something that's detrimental to somebody else and that somebody else doesn't want to hear it, that's a heavy burden to hold when you're doing all you can, right? You're doing all you can to show how much you care for them, to reveal to you, to reveal to them that you know something that they don't, but they don't want to accept it. And that's heavy. Because especially for the people that you love, you definitely don't want to feel like it's your fault, even when you've tried all you can. You know? But I just want to thank you guys, man. A lot of you guys have been here from even for the hard streams that I've done. The hard streams, and you know what I'm talking about, because you feel by yourself a lot in the real world. But I'm glad that, I'm not happy that you go through the same things that I do, but I'm happy that I'm at least in a community of people that understand that feeling, and I'm able to at least let that out too. And I'm grateful for you guys coming here when you don't even have to. But just listening sometimes, just listening sometimes makes a great deal. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful. Very, very grateful. And I'm not trying to get on all my feels or anything like that, or anybody's feels, but let's be real about this, man. We're not a huge population of people, man. We really aren't. Who wants to live their life like this? Who wants to go through this difficult time of knowing what you know and trying to warn people that you love, but they're not receiving it? Who wants to be in that position? Nobody does. But we have the responsibility to at least let them know. And it hurts us when they don't want to hear. Not because we think that we're better than them. Because we love them. We tell them because we love them. You know what I mean? And I try to have these conversations too with my wife, and my wife's kind of passive as well. And but she knows. She knows. She knows me. But sometimes the answers I get from her, man, it's like, it's passive. And I'm like, man. And I hate to say this, but I do sometimes in my head. But in my head, I say to myself, man, right now you're passive. But watch, when stuff hits the fan, who are you gonna be relying on? And I'm not saying that in a way that I'm expecting it. I really don't want things to happen. Just like everybody else. Who wants all these bad things to happen? Who wants these changes to happen? Nobody. I'm not one of those people who like to tell, like to say that my that I was right or I told you so. I don't want to be one of those people, man. But it's gonna come down to that we as a community, we are gonna be the people that are gonna be the ones to say something like, I try to tell you. It's rough, man. It does bear burden on it adds weight on top of the weight that we have to carry, to try to do the best we can in our relationship with Christ. That's already a heavy burden to carry, let alone having to spread, tell people the truth or, share the gospel of Christ. Sometimes you got to tread, like I don't know, man. It's what I'm trying to say is like, you try to share these things with people and they just don't want to listen, man. Hard heads. And I get it because I was a hard head too. But man, when you open up and you start learning about these things and you realize that the wicked is real, it hurts you when your loved ones deny what you're saying to them, what you're trying to tell them. They don't even want to receive it. It hurts. I'm just glad that you guys are here, man. Because I'm able to at least have this is a normal conversation, right? This is supposed to be a normal conversation. I'm just happy that I'm part of you guys. It wouldn't be a show without you. If there was no interaction between you and me, there would be nothing here. I would just be rambling a bunch of whatevers that is going to nobody. But I'm glad that I have ears and I'm glad I have mouths that talk back, or at least typing out your words on the screen that we're able to interact and we're able to let go of the things that we can let go of to kind of balance out the struggles that we all go through, man. Because this journey with Christ, you got to be able to take this up all the way. You're either going to do it or you're not. And at the times that we're living in today, you can't half-ass it, dude. And I said that word. You can't. The line has been drawn already. The line has been drawn, dude. And you can't flip-flop a side or the other. You got to choose. Anyhow, I just thought I'd share that little passage because I want to thank you guys for uplifting me, Just having a conversation today did a lot for me. I feel a lot better, And I hope that you interacting with the chats as well made you feel a little bit better too. Because I know when I go to other people's channels, people will talk about the particular subjects at hand, right? The wickedness that's going on, the corruption, all these things that make you angry. But today we were just talking about life, how it used to be. Talking about the things that we used to do when we were younger. Talking about our children. Talking about music. Sometimes just conversations like that can do a lot. And it has for me today. And I thank you guys. I really do. I really do. So anyhow, I'm going to close it out, man. I'm going to close it out. I really didn't know what direction to go to today. And I normally don't. But I think this is the direction that God wanted me to go to today, talking about this. Because I think he's seen. And I was talking to him throughout my whole walk today about when, Lord, when is this, when is my weight going to be lightened just a little bit, Lord, just a little bit. And I know I deserve death, but I'm trying to do the best I can with this corruptible flesh, and my flesh is so weak, but then my spirit for you is so strong, and I just need a little bit of weight just lifted off, just a little bit. He granted it for me today. Just having normal conversation with you guys did a lot. A lot. So, anyhow, I want to thank you guys, man. Thank you for kicking it with me today. And next week, Sunday, right now, there's no events. So I will plan to be live on next week, Sunday, same time. And we're approaching the celebration of death coming here on Thursday. And we're coming up on the selection date too, huh? Oh yeah, by the way, I did want to mention this. Let me ask your opinion on this, guys. So I don't follow sports, right? And I just found out yesterday that, no, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, that for the World Series, I didn't realize it was the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees that were playing baseball for the World Series. And the first thing that came to mind, and I think I mentioned this morning on KC's show on Enter the Stars, right? Shout out to KC, Enter the Stars. I mentioned it. I was asking him. I was like, do you think the outcome of the World Series is going to determine who's going to win the selection? And I don't think he understood my question. And the reason why I mentioned it that way was because with the World Series, LA, right? LA Dodgers, that's where Kamala's from. She's from California. LA's in California. She's not, I don't know if she's from LA, but she's from California, right? But LA does represent California. And then you got New York that represents Orange Man, because that's where he's from, right? So, I don't know. Do you think that the outcome of the World Series can determine who's going to win the selection? You know what I mean? Yeah, Cheryl. It's LA versus New York. And it's funny because that's the first thing that came to mind. I don't follow sports, man. But the first thing that came to mind was those two clowns. You know? It could be nothing. But isn't that weird that it's LA versus New York? And then look at the two candidates that are running for the presidential selection. I'm just saying. Hello, Tarali. And you're right. It could be. You know what, man? Rob Tick says that's good. That's a good thought. Speak is very possible. LA is up 2-0 in the series. I'll tell you what, man. And I think I've shared this before, my theory, before I let you guys go. My theory here, man, there's going to be something that's going to cancel out the whole ceremony of the selection. That's just my opinion. And who's going to be stuck as the quasi-president? Who's going to be stuck? Who's going to be the default president when things happen where that actual selection is canceled? I'm just saying. They're doing so many things to kind of push Charlie Whiskey. You know what I'm saying? Charlie Whiskey. CW. And I know that the stuff in the Middle East is getting out of control too. So who knows, man? Who knows? All we know is we gotta be prepared every day, like today is our last day, right? Spiritually, we always got to make sure that we're locked in with Christ. That's for sure. That's the one thing for sure, is that every day we're locked in with Him even more. The more wickedness that happens in this world, the more we have to get closer to Christ. Is That's what we got to do. Oh, come on. You know what the CW is. You know? It's a Guns N' Roses song. Let's just put it that way. It's a Guns N' Roses song. Now I'm trying not to use these words because of how speech is so free these days. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's cool. What day is that? Let me check my calendar here. What day? I know it's on that V for Vendetta day, but or should I say the what did they call that? Oh man. The Guy Fawkes incident, what do you call that? That's going to be on a Tuesday. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably check him out on that day. No, it's going to be on the 5th. Remember the 5th of November. Right? The gunpowder incident. That's what it's called. The gunpowder incident with Guy Fawkes. It's real history, man. They try to take out King James. Go look it up. Remember the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes, he tried to take out King James, and he was working for the Jesuits. You know? Yeah, Tonette. Exactly. That's why in the Bible it says that those who know Christ know what he's talking about, and those that don't know Christ don't know what he's talking about. You know? That's why he spoke, because it made sure to filter out his people from the people that are not his people. For sure. Yeah, next week Tuesday, man. Not this coming, but next week. So, and I'm glad that I kind of shared with you guys to always be aware of your surroundings and everything. Please, whatever you do when you go out and stuff, and I'm not trying to fearmonger here, dude. Okay? There's a difference between fearmongering and letting people know that you care for them so much that you have to tell them to be aware of what's going on around them. Because I encounter so many people who are so asleep that even if I'm standing right next to them for like 5 minutes, they wouldn't even know that I'm there. Not that I'm that good at being sneaky, but they just don't have the awareness, So I'm glad that I was able to at least share that and keep that in your head and run those scenarios in your head and run what decision that you would make in those scenarios, so you'll be able to just react to them instead of having to stop and think. Because that time between stopping and thinking could be your time to go get deleted. You just need to react sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just be aware. Just be aware. Don't be paranoid. There's a difference between paranoia and awareness. Okay? Paranoia is like you're thinking everybody's out there to get you. Awareness is this, you're just observing. You're observing things that normal people wouldn't. So please guys, I care for you guys so much. I care for your families, that I'm telling you that you always gotta stay ready. I've said this before, I'll say it again, man. In the famous words of the rapper Sugar Free, if you stay ready, you ain't got to be ready. You know what I'm saying? So, anyhow, you guys have a wonderful night. And I hope you've been blessed with today's, just even though we were just talking, man. But I hope you guys been blessed with anything that I was able to share with you guys. And I'll be on again next week, Sunday. Or either that, I'll see you guys in somebody's chats, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I want to thank the Lord Almighty for allowing me to do this, allowing me to hold a place for us just to hang out, just to chop it up today, and always having Him in mind as well. No matter how hard our journeys get, because we believe in the promises that the Lord has given to us, we continue to go through it. You know, we continue to go through it. And this is why we lean on each other for our uplifting at times. So you guys have a wonderful evening with your families and yourselves and your friends. And God bless you guys, and I'll see you next time. Good night.